Hi, this is the second part to my industry dubbing project. So I'm going to talk about technical standards for delivery. We were following the BBC technical standards for this project, and the first thing to consider really was the sample rate of the audio, because in normal audio you would use a sample rate of 44.1 kilohertz generally as your final delivery, because that's Red Book audio format. But for this, because it's for video, where the sample rate is 48 kilohertz, the sound needs to match that. So we had to make sure all audio was recorded at 48 kilohertz. And, the first thing to consider for the actual standards of delivery, well, after that, were BBC has a technical document in which they explain that you need minimum background noise and no peak distortion during any of the audio that goes with the video. So in our project, the only acoustic instrument used was the guitar. Everything else was electronic, including drums. So in order to reduce background noise from that one recording, we made sure to use dynamic cardioid microphones with a SM57 in order to cut down on just noise from other sources, because the polar pattern of the microphone rejects backwards noise. And another thing to consider was that the BBC says that the audio needs to be both continuous and smoothly mixed and edited. So for our project, this was quite relevant because we have two completely different halves of the track, the electronic and the rock part. So we needed to make sure that once we'd mixed both halves, we matched them in loudness and intensity to make sure it wasn't overpowering on either side. And another thing we had to add was EBU bars for the video lineup, which are a technical standard that the BBC requires. And there's also, we also had to add an EBU 1 kilohertz tone of audio reference. This is equal to 18 minus 18 dBFS and 4 on the ppm meter, which we needed to use to measure sound levels. And peaks needed to be no higher than 6 ppm, which is minus 10 dBFS. And what we used to measure the actual audio levels was ppm meter, because the BBC provides a table which shows you the guide for typical levels of audio. And they explain that dialogue is generally at 3.325 ppm with maximum peaks at 6, because you can't go past 6 in their standards. And for compressed music, which is what we were using, you needed it at about 4 ppm. And something we had to consider during this was also monocompatibility, because the BBC asked that all tracks need to be monocompatible without any phase cancellation. Originally, we'd recorded the guitar with 2 microphones, but we found that when we put them into the mix and mono-summed the track, you had some phase cancellation and the guitar became very weak, so we removed one of the microphones and just used a single source. And that's the standards for delivery for the stereo track. And I'm going to explain standards for delivery for 5.1 surround in the next video.